y'all, and welcome to the Healthy by Heather Brown podcast, where I encourage you in healthy mind, body, and spirit through my Sunday reset. Let's get into it. Hey girl gang, today I get to introduce you to my friend Kacy Tucker. She is at Kacy Tucker over on Instagram, so make sure to go give her a follow. She shares about her 4 kiddos, 2 biological and 2 adopted. The 2 adopted were adopted only 15 months apart, which is wild, and how they have gone from living in the suburbs to actually out into the country homesteading on lots of land. So I know a lot of you guys talk with me about wanting to hear about homesteading and homeschooling this season, learning what God has taught families that have been through it already, some of the mistakes they wish that they would have known before they moved out there. We get into all of it in today's episode. So as you know, we talk so much here about mind, body, and spirit health. And this season specifically, we are talking about our kids' health. And so I love how Kacy talked about how she leaned on the Lord all throughout the many adventures that they've been on so far in their family life, including when their little boy Tate was 2. He was diagnosed with a rare disease that required a bone marrow transplant. And truly, his life is a miracle. So with all that said, make sure that you tune in, get your notebook ready to take down some quotes and Bible verses, and maybe some notes of what you want to start implementing into your daily and Sunday reset to make sure that you are feeling your best in mind, body, and spirit too. Okay, here we go. I'm going to throw it over to Kacy. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Healthy by Heather Brown. I'm so excited today to bring Kacy right on in and jump into it. So Kacy, can you say hey?
Hi, so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kacy, when I was introducing you, I was talking just a little bit about how I met you on the internet. We're essentially internet friends. So fun. But we were just laughing before we even hit the record button about how I feel like I know Kacy, but also there's so many things that I don't know about her. And so Kacy, will you give everybody just a little bit of a background about how you ended out on a farm? To me, that is like mind blowing. How many animals you have, how many kids, just a little bit about who you are as a mama.
Yeah. Okay. So my name is Kacy. I've been married to my husband, Jordan, for almost 15 years. It'll be 15 years in December. We have a kind of a crazy story. He grew up in the country, little farm town. I grew up in not the city, but not the country by any means. We met at through mutual friends at a church, and we got engaged 4 months later and married, I think 4 or 5 months after that. So it was like a crazy whirlwind year. So anyway, we moved to where he grew up, in the small little town that he grew up. His grandpa actually purchased 2,000 acres out here, and we were so fortunate to be able to live on part of it. A dream come true. Yeah. So we had our first child 2 years after we were married. Her name's Lena. She's 13. And then after that, we had our son Tate. He is 11 now. There's a whole nother crazy story with his situation. He was born with a rare genetic immune disease. We had no idea. And then we found out later that I'm a carrier of that disease, which led us to adoption, which I'll tell you about that in a second. But
yes.
Anyway, when he was 7 days old, he got meningitis. And then he just kept getting crazy infection after infection, hospitalized like his whole 3 years of life. No doctor could figure out what was wrong with it. It was the craziest thing. We had all these different specialists on his case, and no one could figure it out. They kept saying it's all these infections are a coincidence. And of course, mama brain is like, no, something's wrong. So we kept digging. And one of the things that he got was shingles at 18 months old, which is not heard of. So we went to a dermatologist, and then this dermatologist ended up saving his life. He was an older man that prayed with us. And he was like, you know what? I just have this feeling that I need to test him for this rare disease that I remember reading about in medical school, all those years ago. And he was like, Can we do it? And I'm like, of course, sure. So anyway, I remember where I was standing. It was July 1st of 2015 when I got the phone call, and he was like, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is we finally figured out what's wrong. The bad news is he needs a bone marrow transplant. The prognosis for this disease is not great. So anyway, we also went through a miscarriage right at this exact point in time. So it was just one thing after another, right? So we flew to Houston. We ended up going to Texas Children's Hospital there, lived there for 6 months. He had his bone marrow transplant. Lots of things happened. He almost died a couple of times. He was life-flighted once for infection in his brain. And anyway, it was it was crazy. Talk about like, putting your faith in the Lord and just trusting, because I've never been through anything like that.
Oh,
So,
my
like
word.
you're in the situation where you literally have zero control, and all you can do is put your faith and trust in God. And we wrote Bible verses all over our hospital windows, and we were constantly blaring like worship music. And anyways, we got through it. And now he's almost 11. He'll be 11 next week, and he is perfectly healthy. They said he'd be on medications his whole life. He's on 0 medications, and he's like, he's a walking miracle. So,
wow. That's incredible.
Because of that, we didn't want to have any more biological children and risk, potentially the same disease. So that led us to adoption. And so we adopted 2 little girls, 15 months apart. They're not related biologically. It was two different adoptions. And so that's been a crazy whirlwind. So yeah, we've got 4 kids.
Yes.
Started our farm about 7 years ago now. We live in the same house that we built after we got married, that's on my husband's family land.
Wow.
And yeah, we're just living the dream. Now we've got chickens and horses and a dairy cow that we milk every day, dogs, cats. We've had sheep, we've had pigs, we've had goats, we've had donkeys, all the things, but it's so much fun, and we love it. And I homeschool. So we're doing it all together as a family every day.
You are. And Kacy, I think there's so much about your story that so many people are going to relate to, either because they've had kids that had really crazy things go wrong with them medically, or because you are living even their dream of like, leaving behind this like either suburban or city life and moving out to farmland and things like that. But I guess I'm going to take you back a little bit to the beginning. How long were you guys married before you started having kids? And then what was your progression towards like leaving the city and things that you were used to, I guess, to start with?
Yeah. So we were married for 2 years before we had Lena, our first. And so, I mean, my husband he's lived here his whole life. So he's like country boy through and through, like he born and raised. I was not. So the first time I drove out here, it was like 45 minutes from where I lived. I was like, oh my gosh, am I, is this it for me? Like, am I going to get like murdered? Like it was just crazy. I'm like going down this dirt road. But anyway, so it was a big kind of culture shock for me. My dad took us like, fishing, and we rode 4-wheelers and stuff. So we weren't like super, super cityfied, I guess, but
Sure.
It was a big change. That's for sure. And even now it takes us like 30, 45 minutes just to get to, town, like grocery stores and shopping and stuff. And it took me a little while to get used to it, but I tell you what, I would not change it for anything now. And it's literally like my dream to live out here, and just to raise our kids out here where they can just run free. They'll go behind our house in the woods. They have a campsite that they made themselves, and they'll just go explore. And it's like, that just like makes my mama heart so happy when I just see them, just away from screens and the world, and just like, go live your best life. Go grow up how, a lot of us like 80s, 90s kids did,
Totally. Yes, absolutely. Kacy, do you mind me asking how old you are?
I'm 35.
35. Okay. So I'm 38. And Kacy, I think that it's so impressive that you have kids and all those different ages, because you said 13, 11, and your girls are 15 months old, 15 months apart. How old are they?
Almost 6 and almost 5.
Okay. That's amazing. So now we've heard like a little bit about how y'all got started with your family and, moving out there. What are some of the hardships that you think people would just have no idea when they're like, yeah, I have this dream of like moving out and getting some land? And how did you decide even like what animals to start with? Like, I feel so clueless about all that. So I'm like, educate us.
Yeah. No, it's like, I mean, it's a lot. It's hard work. It's not easy. I think people make it seem like this fairy tale life, and it's like, it can be, but a lot of people don't show the hardships of it, And I will say, even if you don't live this lifestyle, just marriage in general can be hard. I would say like my number one piece of advice for us was just putting God first, because, it's like, I think every marriage goes through like tough times, but it's like whenever you have God as your foundation and your center, it's like, you can come back together. And it's just like, I don't think we would have gotten through half of the crazy things we've been through without, our faith in God. But as far as homesteading, gosh, we started with chickens, which I would tell anyone, that's like the gateway farm animal. It's starting with chickens. And then it's all just like trial and error. Like we tried goats and we quickly realized like, we don't really like goats for, like.
Okay. But why? Tell us why.
Well, so we milked goats for a while because, we wanted raw milk and we weren't ready for, a dairy cow yet. So we're like, let's start with goats. They're just stubborn. They're punks. They don't listen. It's like, okay, like they're too smart,
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's all just trial and error. And other people, I've got friends that absolutely love goats and they would not get rid of them for anything. So everyone's just different. But most of the things that we do, it's like we want to have animals that serve a purpose. So after we got our dairy cow, we weren't milking the goats anymore and they didn't really, serve us a purpose anymore. Now that's not, to say you can't have fun things because we've had alpacas, which yes, you can use their poop for fertilizer in the garden, but more, they're just like lawn ornaments. They're just fluffy donkeys poodle donkeys, what people call them. But it's fun, and again, it's all just kind of like trial and error, whatever works for you. But, we got pigs because we wanted to like raise our own meat. And we got our dairy cow because we want to drink raw milk and be able to make all the things that you can make with raw milk. And then horses because we enjoy them and we ride them almost every day. And our dogs are livestock guardian dogs. We need them. We need them for our chickens and for our quail and for, our animals. But I would say trial and error, like I said, is kind of the biggest thing. You're not really going to know until you do it. But we did a lot of research. Like there's like so many YouTube channels you can find. There's books you can buy. There's people you can ask. Some people jump right in and just go for it. We kind of did a mixture of both. We did a lot of research, and then kind of just jumped all into. But it's also addicting. It's like once you start with something, you're like, okay, what do we want to get next?
Yes, yes. That's so funny. And now that you said that, I'm like, that's how I feel about health. Like, I'm like, oh, what can I learn about next? Like, I just get so excited about it. And that's one of the reasons why I am constantly telling my husband, like, once the boys get a little bit older, I'd really like to move out and get a little bit of land. I want to start with some chickens. So I'm like, sounds like I'm on the right path. Yes.
Yes. And I will say, quail is something that you can do in a neighborhood if you have no land, because quail, usually there's no HOA against quail. They're tiny little birds. They don't need very much space. Some people even keep them in their garage and you can eat their eggs. They taste just like chicken eggs. They're just a little bit smaller. We love them. We'll hard boil them and you can just like pop them right into your mouth. And you can also butcher them and cook them like you would a chicken. So it's like a dual purpose bird and they reproduce quickly and they reach maturity quickly. So anyway, if you're like, I want to start somewhere, but I live in a neighborhood, quail is a really good place to start.
Oh, that's great to know. Our quail, like, I guess, like if we think about a chicken egg in your head, is it like a quarter size of that? How many are you eating those to get full for breakfast, if you will?
I think it's eggs. 3 quail egg equal 1 chicken egg, but they have more nutrients like by mass. They have like more, I can't remember exactly, but more protein, there's some like vitamins and minerals that they have where it's like by mass. So, anyway, you can Google all of the health benefits, but I think they say like 3 to 1.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, there's a great takeaway for you guys. If you want to look into quail, I'm like, now my interest is peaked, Kacy. So we'll see what happens. Next thing Kacy knows, I'll be texting her like, hey, bought a couple quail. What do I do next?
I love helping people get started. It's so fun.
I know. I love it. So Kacy, I know that it seems like in general, there's kind of been this like turnover, it feels like a little bit just in our country where we got really, really far away from our land and from knowing where our food comes from and sourcing and all those kind of things. And now it kind of seems like people are swinging back towards that way. Is there anything that you feel like you wish you would have known before you went out there? Or is there anything that you think was surprising? And maybe even could you take us through like, what does your day-to-day look like so that people can get a small peek into what the labor load is like?
Yeah. I don't think there's anything really surprising. Well, I mean, it kind of all was because it was so new to me, but it was like, we were just kind of doing it together. My husband grew up on a cattle ranch with his grandpa, but he didn't have, like a dairy cow and stuff like that. And, the way that they ranched would be a little bit different than the way that we ranched because of, just like regenerative farming and, the more natural ways that we are kind of like leaning into. But I can't remember what the second part of your question was.
No, you're good. I think just what was surprising. And then what is y'all's kind of like day-to-day life like to take care of the farm?
Yeah. So we are blessed that my husband was able to quit his 9-to-5 job. Gosh, I think it's been like 5 years ago, thanks to like just social media and affiliate marketing and all the things. So he's home full time now, which is a huge, huge, huge blessing because I don't think I could run this place and homeschool and do all the things without him. So our day to day is, we wake up in the mornings, we do Bible time first because that's really important to us. And the kids will do their homeschool and then we'll do our animal chores. And it sounds like a lot, but it's really not. Like each child has their own chore. And I think, between like our Bible time, our homeschool, our chores, we're usually done by noon. And then they have the rest of the day to kind of, do whatever they want. But animal chores, it's like, just feeding and watering everything. And there's usually always something around here that needs fixed, which that's, Jordan's department and, fencing and mowing and all the things. But, it's really, it sounds like a lot of hard work. And sometimes it can be whenever you're in those seasons where it seems like everything's going wrong and nothing is going right. Like we've had winters where all of our water was frozen and we were having to haul like 5-gallon buckets of hot water to all the water troughs because we couldn't get water out. Like there's just things. But again, that's just kind of like you're learning as you go. But yeah, it's not as hard, I think, as a lot of people make it seem to be. I mean, I guess that depends on how many animals you have and what all you have to take care of. But that's the other thing I would recommend is if you want to go that route and start with animals, just kind of do some research on what that animal needs and some things that could go wrong so you're prepared. And we've had some sheep that, had issues birthing and we ended up having to take them to the vet and they had to have C-sections and there's like, there's different vitamins and minerals that could have maybe prevented it. So it's just kind of like, just doing a little bit of research before you, get too invested. So you just kind of know what to expect.
Yeah, for sure. So I feel like people would be like coming after me if I didn't ask you about, you talked about affiliate marketing a little bit and how your husband's been home now for 5 years. And so first of all, tell us maybe like a little bit about that journey. What did that look like for you guys as a family? And then I'm going to say that I have homeschool questions too, but we'll start with how did you guys end up retiring from a traditional work role and what does that look like for your family?
Yeah. So he worked in the oil and gas industry. He was in an office job, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. At the time, I was just home with the kids, homeschooling and just being a stay-at-home mom. I did Young Living a little bit on the side, but it wasn't like, a huge money earner, but I asked him to make me an essential oil shelf. So it's just like a big square that you hang on the wall that you put your oil bottles in. And so he's always been really handy with like carpentry and stuff. So he made me one and I posted about it. I didn't have any followers at the time, but I was getting tons of messages from friends that were like, can he make me one?
If you are loving everything you're hearing here in this episode about mind, body, and spirit health, how they're all interconnected, my tested and proven Sunday reset method, and leaving a healthy legacy for your kids, you need to join the Healthy by Heather Brown membership. It's a community of like-minded women seeking the Lord and better health with weekly resources where I get to personally cheer you on. You get 7 days free to test it out. Link to join in the show notes or go to healthybyheatherbrown.com.
And it turned into a year later, he was like making enough building shelves and shipping them to like basically what he was making at his office shop. So he was able to quit and he did that from home in our shop. And he just had a workshop in our shop. Yeah. So he did that for a couple years, which was really hard on him because it was a lot of work, but he was home. So we were very thankful. And then I started Modere. Gosh, I think that was like 3 or 4 years ago. And it's a direct sales company that does health and wellness products. And it just like took off. And within like a few months, it was like, okay, let's put a pause on the shelf so you can, help me focus on homeschooling the kids and taking care of the farm and all of that. And then we never went back. We never went back to the shelves because
freedom.
it took off, and then my following started to grow, and I started, getting into other affiliates and promoting all of these things that I like truly, truly loved. It was making us a little bit of income too. And yeah, here we are.
Here we are. Well, Kacy, so I think that you know this, but I found you because your friend Madison Vining was selling Modere also. And I'm actually drinking Revitalize right now. So cheers. I love it. But essentially, like I found Kacy through Madison and started following her. And then we've just become friends through online. But I really feel like it is such like a treasure trove of information that you share on your page for people that are interested in potentially homesteading and also homeschooling. And I love how the Lord bless the evolution of you guys' journey through figuring out how to step into that freedom. And I know that people are going to want to hear more about homeschooling. So were your kids ever in school that was, a traditional school, or what made y'all decide to take that leap? And were you homeschooled? Just tell us all the things.
Yeah. So I actually was homeschooled for 1 year. My mom homeschooled me for kindergarten, and then she put me in a little private school for a few years. And then I switched to public school in 3rd grade and was public school all the way till I graduated. And then Jordan was public school his whole life. So Lena didn't go to preschool because we were in Houston still for Tate's transplant. But kindergarten, we put her in the public school that is in our tiny little hometown. And it's a great school, it's a great little school. She did that for 2 years. So she did kindergarten and 1st grade, and then Tate did pre-K at the same little school. And then after that is when I just kept feeling like I just don't have enough time with that. I just I'm home all day. Like I want, I think I could do it, and we had some friends that did it, and I kind of did a little research. And of course, kindergarten and 1st grade, it's so easy. So it's like, oh, I can teach them. This is no problem. Obviously, The older they get, the more challenges we've had. But I think this is our 6th year. I think our 6th year of homeschooling, and we just love it. They thrive. They're in sports. We do co-ops. Like they see other kids all the time, because I know that's the biggest thing that people are like, what about socialization? And I'm like, for us, I know everyone's different, but for us, it's never been an issue because we have so many friends that also homeschool. We have them in so many activities. But the coolest part is they're learning so many more life skills. I feel like my daughter, Lena, she is really into sign language. And my son is really into like the bush crafting. So he's he loves to go outside and make his own fire and whittle wood and just things. And,
cool.
And knitting and just some life skills that I feel like are kind of, not taught as much anymore. But yeah, I don't know. We've changed curriculum a few times over the years. I always tell moms that message me about it, feel free to change it up. You don't have to feel stuck with one thing. There's hundreds of amazing curriculums out there. We've tried one that's really, really popular and it just didn't work for our kids. So we tried a different one, and some of our kids do different curriculums. But yeah, I mean, we love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's amazing. And I think that one thing that you have shown me through your account too is number one, how cool it is that it gives you that much time back with your kids. But then also I feel like you've showed how not only are they interacting with tons of, other kids and things like that, but they're getting the socialization almost more with different adults too. And having more real life scenarios. It's not like you say, because you're homeschooling, well, we're just staying in our home, we're never leaving again. I think that is just kind of the misconception that people have, I guess, in the back of their heads. Yeah. When you first started, what kind of, I guess, did you feel very well prepared by the resources that you got? Or were you kind of what am I doing? Or what do you do when your kids get older and you're like, I don't know how to do this?
Yeah. So I would love nothing more than to be a structured, scheduled, organized mom. I would love that. That's not me. That's not me. I've tried and I just it's just not me. So we kind of just we kind of wing it, we have somewhat of a schedule. We wake up, we do our Bible time, we do our homeschool, we do our chores. But, if there's a day where it's hey, I want to go do something outside, or we need to go somewhere, it's okay, well, we'll just do school later, or we'll just bump it to the next day. We're not super rigid about it, I guess. And I know some people who are, and some people who thrive off of a schedule and a routine, but we are just not those people.
I hear that.
So as far as them getting older, we started using a curriculum called BJU Press, and I really like it. This is our second year. They have an option to where they have their own textbooks that they write in. It's not all online, but they have classes where it's like a teacher setting, and they'll watch like a video with each lesson, and it's like a teacher teaching them. So for some of the subjects that I don't feel like equipped to teach, it's like I have that as an option, and it is fantastic. We love it. And it's
awesome.
a great Christian curriculum if anyone is looking for one. The Good and the Beautiful is another one that we do. Our younger kids really like that one and thrive off of that one. And we also use an app that's called Teaching Textbooks. We use that for math. And it's awesome. It's kind of the same where it'll show them like a video and teach them a lesson, and then they do an assignment. So some of those things really help. The older that they get, when I'm like, I don't remember how to do a lot of this math stuff, and I'm like YouTubing it, like, how do I forgot. So those are options too. And we also have some like programs around here for homeschooled kids that are like tutors. So as the older they get, when I'm like, I really don't know how to do this, like we could look into something like that for them too. So
yeah, I think that it's just so nice to know more about homeschooling, because I remember when like growing up, we had actually some kids, I think, that would co-op at our Christian school, but I never really understood how it worked. And as I've gotten older, and people like you have been generous enough to share what it looks like online in real time and in real life, you're like, okay, wait, that maybe isn't as unattainable as what I thought. So I really appreciate you sharing that. And then also, I didn't know that there are regular, and it's like, this is so dumb that I didn't realize it, but I did not realize you could sign up for, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it called a co-op when you literally like every week you can take your kids to school with other homeschooling parents and rotate like on a Monday or Wednesday or Tuesday, Thursday. So it's not that it always even has to just be in your home, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
We even have one around here that it's a little too far for us. We tried it before, but the drive was just too long, where they teach the core classes. So it's kind of like a hybrid. So you go like once or twice a week, and they'll teach you, you can pick whatever classes you want. You can do your core classes like math, English, science, history. You can do electives too, like music and art and stuff like that. So they'll go twice a week, and then the rest of the week you'll do at home. So they'll tell you what to do at home. So it's kind of, it's like you're homeschooling, but you don't have all the pressure on like teaching them yourself. So I don't know if they have those everywhere, but we have a couple of those options around here that are really nice. And then we also have co-ops that are just for electives. So this is what we did last year. My kids had classes like sign language, baking, and like knitting, and there was like a survival type of class. It was all kind of like homestead related classes, which was really cool. Fun. They made like candles, they made lotion, they made like paracord bracelets. It's just like some really cool things that most kids probably don't get to experience.
Yeah. So Kacy, one thing that as you've been talking, I really appreciate the fact that you're weaving the fact through of like God's taught you a lot through each of those scenarios and like relying on him, especially when you were talking about your son at the beginning. Do you mind sharing just a little bit about maybe what you think some of the biggest lessons God has taught you through the homeschooling process and or through homesteading that you feel like makes you guys look really countercultural, but God has used in a powerful way to teach you guys so much?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, our biggest thing is like, I could care less about a lot of the school subjects. I'm like, if my kids know Jesus and they know how to be kind and they know how to shine that light and share with others, I've won. Like I'm done.
Amen.
I'm done. Like that's our biggest concern, as parents. So that is kind of what we try to focus on the most. And then, just they're always having opportunities when they're out in public or when they're with their friends to shine that light. And a lot of times, like at night, we'll talk about it. My friend Madison, actually, they've been doing this for years, and we've started doing it because of them, but it's called delete and repeat. So at night at the dinner table, it's like, okay, is there something that you did today that you would delete? Or is there something today that you did that you would repeat? And then it just it opens that conversation too, to just talk about like, okay, well, why do you think you shouldn't have done that? Or why do you think like that was a good thing that you did? Was that showing Jesus? Was that shining your light?
Yeah. That is so cool. I love that idea.
Yeah. We just try to incorporate as much of that as we can. And then as far as like our farm, it's like the kids know it's like our pigs. It's like we got them for meat, and it can be hard. And a lot of people don't get it. And that's okay. But, I get that question a lot. How do your kids feel whenever you butcher animals that they've been taking care of? Is it really hard on them? And I'm like, yes, but no. I mean, when we get them, we've explained to them, like, God gave us these creatures, for a reason. And people, not everyone agrees with this, obviously, but this is what we believe and this is what we teach our kids. It's like raising your own meat is going to be, a lot healthier most of the time than what you can buy in the store. Like, what you've fed them, you've loved on them, you've shown them like compassion, and you've like fed them every day, and you've gotten to know them. And it's like the greatest gift, like that circle of life. So it's like they know whenever an animal is being butchered, it's like, they served their purpose for us, and we got to give them like the best possible life that they could have. And I think that also like circles back to the Bible and God, and just like trying to work that in every aspect we can. And we're not perfect. Like, we fail all the time, but it's like, just trying to work it in as much as we can is kind of like our goal.
Yeah. Do you mind even sharing, because I think that the delete and repeat idea is so cool. And I think it would be kind of neat for people to hear it tangibly. Maybe even like if you were at the dinner table with your kids today, what is something that you might say that you would delete and repeat? Maybe even, and you don't even have to make it about today. It could even be about like your farmsteading life or whatever it may be. But I think that helps give people that like even more tangible picture of how an adult might explain that to their kids,
Yeah, for sure. So like some things would be like, I wish I wouldn't have gotten so upset today over, something so silly. But at the time it felt like big emotions for me. But then like after I realized it was not a big deal, I apologize for that. And like, I could have done this better this way or something like that,
Yeah.
And like the kids, usually with the kids, it's like them fighting over something or, them yelling at each other or, something like that. And then a positive could be like, I held the door open for my sister today, or I helped my youngest or my little sister with, her school today, or just things that are like, just being kind and showing compassion, Yeah. Does that help?
No, I love that. That's so awesome. And then Kacy, by the time this episode, I'm pivoting us just a little bit. By the time this episode airs, more than likely I'll have had Justin Prince, the founder of Make, on the show. So I'll link back to that prior episode. But you and I alluded a little bit earlier to that we, both sold Modere, and Kacy actually is the person that has grabbed my hand and taken me on board for Make Wellness. So do you mind just sharing a little bit about Make Wellness and what that transition has looked like for your family? And in case they've never heard of it, maybe just give like a couple of sentences and they can check it out in the show notes if they want to too.
Yeah, totally. Gosh, this is something that I am so excited about. I haven't been this like giddy and excited and like fired up about something in a while. My time at Modere was fantastic. I still love the products, the people, the company. I have nothing bad to say at all. I haven't really promoted it in, it's probably been like 6 months or so, just because it just wasn't quite working anymore for us as a business standpoint. So I was kind of just done with network marketing because there was just nowhere that I would really wanted to be. And, I just enjoy promoting like my affiliate things that I do here and there. So when I heard Justin's first Zoom call about his company, I was just like, tell me more, tell me more. It just was like, it was just so mind blowing. It was like, it's nothing like I've seen. And I was just immediately like, I'm doing this. Like, I'm doing this. And I had just told myself, like, I'm out of the game. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. But when you're like really passionate and excited about something, it's just kind of, makes you more fired up. So I've met Justin. He's an amazing guy, someone I trust and someone who I really look up to. And some of the other leaders that have also joined were same people that I fully trusted. And I was like, if they're going, I'm going, because I know that's the place to be. So the company is called Make Wellness, like you said, and it's bioactive precision peptides, which I didn't know anything about peptides. I'll tell you, I was like on board before I even knew what the products were, because that's how excited I was about joining Justin and these other people, because Justin is just a genius. Like, he's a genius with business, with marketing, with all of the things. So I'm like, I'm going wherever. He's actually the reason I joined Modere. He's the reason I joined Modere years ago. I watched a video of his and I was like, I love, he's like such a, like a, God-fearing family man. And he's awesome. So the peptides they're going to be ingestible, not injectable. So a lot of the peptides that you're probably familiar with are like the semaglutide, the Ozempic, the weight loss injections. Those are peptides. Those are synthetic and typically made in a lab. And these are going to be completely 100% plant-based, and they're ingestible. So no prescription, no needles, no having to go to the doctor, but they're going to pack the same punch. And I'm just so excited. There's going to be, I think, 6 products that we're starting with this fall. There's a lean, fit, focused, hydrated, calm, and energized. So some of them are going to be like stick packs that you add to water. Some are going to be capsules. Some are going to be just like a pixie stick where you just like dump it in your mouth. But there's just never been anything like this before. The science behind all these products. I mean, I could talk about this forever, so you might have to stop me, but the science behind these products are just like, oh my gosh, like, and the science team and the people behind the company, they're all like very natural minded. And they're like, oh, artificial anything? No, not happening. Like maltodextrin, not happening. Dyes, not happening. Like they already came out with this list called their Never List. And it lists all the ingredients that they promise to never use, which to me is huge. Like I don't know any companies that do that. So just to know that right off the bat, I'm like, I don't need to know anything else, it's going to be great. So
yes.
I mean, like Justin would say, who wouldn't want to be fit, lean, hydrated, energized, focused, or calm? Like, who wouldn't want to be any of those things?
Exactly.
So I think there's going to be a product for everyone. And just the way that he's built, like the affiliate part of it, it's not like a traditional direct sales company. So it's basically like you're an affiliate, you get a commission off of your sales, and then you can refer other affiliates to be underneath you, and you get a commission off of them too. It's very streamlined, very simple, very easy. And I think there's a potential, like a huge potential for this to be like some life-changing, money for people if they are like looking to start a business. So I'm excited.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited that you're doing it with me too.
I know, me too. So you guys, if you're interested in Make Wellness, I'm going to link it down in the show notes down below. So you can just scroll down and you can watch the informational video from Justin, listen to his podcast interview from before. But these products will have just come out in October. And we're just really, really excited to get to try them ourselves because we've been hearing so much about them for months now and to get to be on the ground floor launching this. But all that said, Kacy, I'm going to wrap up here and just have you answer the final question that I ask most people. And that is just, what would you say is something that you use to tangibly reset in your life right now?
My first thought would just be the Bible, there's really not like, since we don't have like a routine, like scheduled life, we're kind of just like fly by the seat of our pants. We don't really have like a Monday, schedule like most people do. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
I will say just like, our reset to me is just like waking up in the morning and resetting I always reset my body with like electrolytes and water before I have my coffee. That's like huge to me. And then resetting like my mind, I guess, with scripture and reading the Bible. And I mean, all the other stuff, not as worried about, but those are like my main things, I guess I would say.
Yeah, for sure. Kacy, what is like, do you have a life verse or a favorite Bible verse that the Lord's using in your life right now that you could share?
I have several. I will say the one that got us through like Tate's transplant would probably be Jeremiah 29:11. That's kind of been like our family's, I don't know, our family's verse for whatever we went through his transplant. But right now we're working on John 3:16 with the kids and we're memorizing that. I don't know. There's so many I could say.
I know. I put you on the spot on that one. Will you quote Jeremiah 29:11 though, in case somebody doesn't know it?
Yeah. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. So that was huge for us during Tate's transplant and during the adoption process, because that was not easy. We went through some craziness with that too. So it's just like constantly focusing on like putting your trust in the Lord. And it's like, he's got it all already worked out, and sometimes it's not the way that we want it. And we can't see the big picture, but it's like his plans are good and his plans are the only way, So just kind of like focusing on that and just, getting your mind right, I guess.
I love that so much. And I think it goes exactly back to what you're saying about your reset is getting into scripture. And that's the way you start your day each day. So you get that daily reset. And I'm just so thankful that you gave us time today, Kacy, just to let us sit at your feet and learn from your wisdom of how you've really allowed the Lord to work in you and your husband's life, and obviously very powerfully in your kids' lives, you guys walking out in obedience, what it looked like to walk through everything that you did with Tate, and then also the adoption journey. With all that said, closing us out in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you so much for the opportunity for us to be able to have Kacy on the show today. I know that she has certainly blessed me with her wisdom and just the many things that she's gone before others of us in trying out and doing differently. Lord, our world just looks really corrupt in a lot of ways right now. We are fallen, and there is lots of sin that's very evident playing out in big food and big pharma and our lack of connection with nature the way that you designed it. But Lord, I'm just so hopeful that you're going to take this podcast episode and the others and just multiply it out to the ears that need to hear it, Lord. I'm so proud of the women that are tuning into this, Lord, who just feel overwhelmed by what is best for their kids and what's best for them. And we open up our phone and social media just screams at us to look at this and do that, and this will solve our problems. But ultimately, Lord, all that we need is you and your guidance and the word that you've given us, which is the Bible. God, I ask that you would just help tune our hearts to you day in and day out. We're so grateful for who you've created Kacy to be, the platform that she has, Lord. Thank you for her marriage. Thank you for her kids. Thank you so much for my entire family and just for all the families that are tuning into this podcast that also want to live their lives radically different for you. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, Kacy. Thank you. That was so much fun. And you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Healthy by Heather Brown. I'm going to challenge you tonight to do your repeat and delete, and also to screenshot this episode, share it with a friend. Make sure you tag Kacy and I on Instagram if you share it there. We would love to see that and connect with you in direct messages. Have a beautiful day, and I'll chat with you next week. Hey, welcome back to the Marriage Corner. And y'all, I asked Eric to come up with a kid topic in honor of our season on kids' health. So Eric, what you got for us today?
So if you didn't know this about me, I'm a big list guy. I love lists. I love making lists. I love checking off boxes. Anything on the internet that is like, clickbait that has lists, big fan. And I came across this list in regards to kids. And the title of the list is 10 Things I Wish All Kids Knew About School. And I'm going to read all 10 of them. And then I want you, Heather, to kind of tell me which 3 maybe stuck out to you and kind of just discuss some of your thoughts on these 10 points.
Perfect.
So the 10 things I wish all kids knew about school. Number 1, school isn't about getting perfect grades. It's about learning how to learn and study. Character is greater than content. Number 2, if school doesn't come naturally to you, it doesn't mean you won't succeed in life. Keep showing up. Number 3, it's okay to not have everything figured out right now. 99% of people are winging it, even adults.
Fake it till you make it.
Number 4, control your actions, attitude, and activity, and your results will likely follow. And if they don't, that's okay. Number 5, real learning happens by making mistakes, not avoiding them. Number 6, don't be afraid to ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. Number 7, your worth isn't tied to your grades. You are enough, period.
Y'all, I do not like the "you are enough" phrase, but we'll talk about that next.
That was not going to be one of my top, the ones that stuck out with me. I completely agree with you. Number 8, practice managing your distractions now. If you do, you can practically guarantee your success in life because most people can't. Number 9, one bad grade doesn't define your future. What you do after the grade matters most. And number 10, being popular is overrated. Stay out of drama and pursue yourself as much as you can. So those are the 10.
I do want to say that I think that the reason I disagree with some of these is more of just like because we're believers. So I would say where it says like stay out of drama and pursue yourself as much as you can. My thought there would be I would want to tell our kids pursue Christ as much as you can and then finding your identity in that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I kind of had the same thoughts as well too. But were there any specific ones that really spoke to you or stuck out to you, or that you feel that we can apply to our kids in a specific way?
Yeah, so definitely number 6, don't be afraid to ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. That is one of the things that I think that I have learned the most as I have aged, is I think when you're a kid, you think like, oh, it's embarrassing if I have a question, or I don't want anybody to think that, not smart enough to know the answer or what have you. But the older that I've gotten and the more that I've connected with other people, I've learned that almost everybody you meet or every person you come in contact knows more about something than you do. And so I really think it's interesting, which is why I have a podcast, to ask people about those things that they know more about so that I can learn more. And man, y'all, I would not have made it through, was it called statistics at Stanford? I would not have made it through the one math credit I had to take as a journalism major if I had not asked a million questions. And when you show up early to a class to get one-on-one tutoring from a teacher and they know you care, then you're going to get a good grade, I feel like, regardless.
I kind of got distracted a little bit there, but I completely agree.
Basically asking for help, not being afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, not being afraid to ask for help. And sometimes I think people think asking for help is a sign of weakness. And I think both as you and I have gotten older and more mature, you definitely realize that asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but really a sign of strength. That means you're comfortable in what you do know and what you don't know, and being willing to ask for help. And a lot of times people are wanting to help you and share their knowledge, and especially if you give them that chance.
For sure. So I think that maybe like a practical way we could play that out with our boys is telling them not to be afraid to ask questions on their homework to us, obviously, or especially at school with their teachers.
And I think it's easy to say those things to our kids. It's a whole nother thing to really put it into action. Because I mean, if you think about it, when you were a kid, all these things that you probably had a lot of these things said to you when you were a kid as well too. But it's hard to have a perspective as a kid, basically like stepping back and actually putting those things into action. And I think it's just a matter of just keeping to reiterate it, and also kind of, we as adults and parents need to ask each other questions, be purposeful in the questions we ask around the dinner table. Show when we have friends over, we're asking our friends different questions, playing games that, ask questions. One thing we do around the dinner table is we have these cards that have different questions, family questions, and they're completely random and have all different kinds of topics. And I think that's a great way to show the kids and set that example of how asking questions is okay.
Yes, and I'll link those down in the show notes. I got them on Amazon for like under $10, and our kids honestly grab for them more than Eric and I do, which we love.
Yes. So do you have any of these other points that stick out to you?
Yeah, I definitely feel like your worth isn't tied to your grades. You are enough. I would add, because of Christ. I like that one because even today, I was having a conversation because I'm working on, you guys have heard me talking about this many, many times, a book proposal, and or even like when I was brainstorming with an agent about podcast titles or what have you. And you get rejected a lot. Like I pitch a lot of brands I want to work with. I, put out these book proposals, and I had to be reminded over and over and over again, my worth isn't in either how successful the podcast is or whether that brand deal came through, or, for kids at the time, it's their grades. My worth is in who Christ says that I am. And I want our boys to be empowered by that too. Yes, we want them to work hard as working for the Lord and not for men, and do their best. But still, if they don't get the best grade, that's not the end all be all.
And that kind of goes to one of the points that stuck out to me. Number 2, if school doesn't come naturally to you, it doesn't mean you won't succeed in life. Keep showing up. And I think there are definitely kids where school does come naturally to them, where the way that school is set up, it's basically, a lot of school is memorization. And some people are really great at memorizing and regurgitating and can do well on tests. That's a majority of how school systems are laid out nowadays. And some kids are just more free thinkers. They're not wired to memorize and regurgitate.
Or boys to sit still for that long in a classroom.
Yeah, and I think there's a bigger discussion to be had on, is that the best way to learn it? It definitely is a great way to teach discipline and how to study and things of that nature. But I think you're a great example. Not that you weren't good at school, you were good at school, but you're definitely more of a free thinker. Like for me, school came pretty easy. I'm great at, I don't want to say I'm great, but I'm good at memorizing things. And
Well, let me clarify. He has a photographic memory. So literally your brain, you could take a picture basically and be like, okay, done, got it.
I do remember that like during tests and history tests, I would go back and I could think to the specific page and where on the page exactly what the question and what the answer to that would be. But yeah, I mean, that's how I learned. But I really wish sometimes you kind of constrain yourself if that's how you learn. And I would rather schools focus on teaching free thinking and why do we learn and what interests you, and then you pursue those interests. So that was one thing that stuck out to me. And the other one was number 8, practice managing your distractions now. If you do, you can practically guarantee your success in life. And I just think about all the distractions that kids have nowadays, whether it's iPads, extracurricular activities, just there's so many distractions in life, friend drama and social media. And I think if parents can help children to manage those distractions, and I think it's not about doing away with all of those distractions. It's about managing them and setting boundaries and explaining to the kids why it's important to have those boundaries. Because as a kid, if your parents just give you these restrictions and they don't tell you why, you can become resentful to that. And it almost makes you want to lean into those distractions even more. So I think it's important to have that open communication where you explain why we're setting these boundaries and why it's important to really manage those distractions.
Yeah, totally. And Eric and I think talk a lot on here about being free thinkers and, encouraging your kids to ask questions and not just being about the grade. And actually, when we were listening to that Tucker Carlson interview with Kacy and Callie Means, one thing, which you can go back and listen to Eric and I's recap of that, I thought it was a really good episode. But one thing that they talked about is how her parents empowering her to think outside the box and celebrating them not being afraid to question the status quo is what gave her the confidence to be able to walk away from her career as a physician and really be an advocate for, kids and health again in America.
Yes, great point. I also really did enjoy speaking on that topic. And then the last thing, I have a question for you. Number 10, being popular is overrated. Stay out of drama. But how would you kind of express or show to our kids? Because as a kid, there's so many cliques, and it does seem like being popular is one of the most important things. How do you display or tell your kids that being popular really isn't the most important thing? And what would you say to that?
Well, I'm actually going to take a quick second and brag on Leighton. I had a parent-teacher conference with his teacher earlier this week, and she told me that Leighton actually had a specific example where he did this. She said, I really work with the class on being a noticer and also empowering them to kindly remind their friends if they need to hear, don't forget that, Mrs. So-and-so said this. And she said, Heather, the boys had kind of gotten in trouble for just getting out of their seats in the lunchroom and just being active, rolling around on the floor, just, things that they're still learning what is kosher in the lunchroom. And she said, I watched, Leighton and another kid kind of say to some of the other boys, hey, I think we probably shouldn't do that, in a kind and respectful manner. And she said, and when they didn't quit, Leighton and his friend picked up their lunch tray and moved to a different spot in the lunchroom. And so when I heard that story from her, I just made sure to go back to Leighton and really say, like, buddy, that is so awesome. I'm so proud of you. It's even hard for adults sometimes to move away from your friends when they're making bad choices. And so I'm just so thankful that, we have the Holy Spirit in us to help us with those hard things.
I still want to be at the cool kids table.
Babe, you are the cool kids table. You bring the table.
I just married the cool girl.
No.
So now I get to be with all the cool kids.
Whatever.
I may be cool now, but I was not cool always back in high school. Kent made me more cool, I will say. So shout out to Kent.
So funny. Okay, well, we're quickly running out of time. And trust me, actually, Eric's mom told me when she saw a picture of me growing up in elementary school, she said, Oh, Heather, you were the ugly duckling that grew into a beautiful swan because I had braces, glasses, and eye patch. I was not cool.
Those were some rough kid pictures. I'm not going to lie.
God bless America. Okay. Well, anyway, we love you guys. This is a fun topic. Thanks for bringing it up, Eric. Have an awesome day. We love y'all, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Bye. Okay, friend, that's a wrap on this week's episode. If you're not already following me on Instagram, make sure to screenshot this episode, share it to your stories, and tag @Healthy by Heather Brown so I can connect with you in my DMs. It truly brings me so much joy to see how these episodes impact you. Make sure to subscribe so we can see you back here next Tuesday for our weekly show. In case you don't know, your downloads, ratings, and reviews are the actual lifeblood of this podcast, and it helps spread the word to your friends and family. So please hit the download button on this episode and leave a 5-star rating if you super loved it. And if we're really BFFs, you'll spread the happy and text this podcast link to someone who needs to hear it today for some encouragement. Scroll down to the show notes on this episode to see any and all links mentioned, freebies to fuel your health goals, prayer-related episodes, and the 7-day free trial of my exclusive membership where I personally coach and cheer you on in whole health. While you're there, make sure to check out my Amazon storefront with healthy snacks, my favorite look for less workout outfits, and books and devotionals that challenge me in my faith. If you ever need to find my Amazon storefront, just Google Healthy by Heather Brown Amazon and it will come up. Have a great day, girl gang.